Welcome back to the Roundtable Ravens podcast. This is episode number 33. We have so much to talk about, get to. Yeah, something like that. Please, everybody, as I've been starting these episodes, if you like what you hear, like, share, subscribe, do all the things. Send this to a Ravens fan if you know them, or a Pittsburgh fan because they want to hate watch. That's fine too. We don't really care, but send it everywhere. Comment on it, like, do all the things, please. In the description of this video will be the official Roundtable Ravens website, where we have more news analysis and all those good things. Please do us a favor, go create an account. Again, share it with your Ravens fans, Ravens haters. I don't care. We'll take everybody. But yeah, we have so much to get into. Starting with the Zay Flowers deal. After months of speculation and conversations and rumors and reports and all those good things, I want to say Eric DeCosta talked about this way back in April during the draft, that he wanted to get a deal done with Zay Flowers before the start of the regular season, and that has finally happened. Zay did not practice, and everybody was wondering what the hell was going on, but it was because he was celebrating his new deal. He ran onto the field. All the players hugged him. He got a good shout out from Jesse Minter. All the happiness, but it is a 4-year, $140 million deal with $108 million of guaranteed money. That is huge for Zay Flowers. He is now paid as a top 5 wide receiver. You can hate me all you want for what I'm about to ask. Was this an overpayment? We will get right into that. That being said, obviously, Zay Flowers has been an ascending player. He came out like a rocket during his rookie season, over 800 yards, 4 touchdowns. He's gotten over 1,000 yards each the last 2 seasons. This deal makes sense. It needed to get done. It was one of the things hanging over Eric DeCosta's head. Better to get out in front of it, as we had spoken about many times on this podcast and in many articles. Now, as opposed to later on, when Puka Nacua resets the market next year, which will undoubtedly happen. Jackson Smith and Jigba already kind of did that. Zay Flowers got a really good deal for being only a 4th-year player coming up. 3 years in the NFL. Again, you can hate me for asking, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Was this an overpayment? Don't know. Let's discuss. But that being said, huge news for the Ravens, huge news for Ravens fans. And yeah, he's locked up for the foreseeable future.
No, it's not an overpayment. Did you see what happened with Tyler Linderbaum? They're not losing any more weapons. They are not letting anyone walk out. They're not letting their top guys walk out the door. And I bet, and I hope that the same will go for Lamar when the time comes. I mean, this is Lamar Jackson's most valuable, one of his most trusted weapons on the offense, especially now, Isaiah Likely's gone. That was another favorite guy of his. Like, it's so important that they lock down these players that amplify Lamar's game and make things easier for him. Lamar has said how valuable Zay is. He's spoken about him and his work ethic. And that's the kind of guy you want in the building. And that's the kind of guy Lamar wants outside at his house at 5 a.m. honking his horn saying, come on, let's get up and go to training. Like, there's no one else on the team doing that. So I think this is perfect. And especially before the Puka Nacua deal went through, like, this is the perfect timing. I think everyone can breathe a little bit more easy now, knowing that is done. And no, it is not an overpayment, because we saw what happened when they play hardball, and they're probably feeling scarred from that. They're like, we're not doing it anymore. Like, just pay him and we'll just move on and we'll deal with it in the future.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're looking at it as in the sense of, like, get it done now, as opposed to if he would have had another monster year, then you would have had to pay him even more money, and probably would have had to pay him closer to that Jackson Smith and Jigba money, or whatever Puka Nacua may get or may not get. But those top guys, Jamar Chase, I think is still up there, and now Justin Jefferson and Zay Flowers are now tied for annual amount, which I think is 35 million.
35.
Again, look, I'm going to play devil's advocate here. That's a lot of money for a young receiver. I'll just say that. I'm not saying that he's not a valuable receiver. I'm not saying that he's not been the focal point of this offense. He absolutely has been, but it's a lot of money. I'll just say that. I'll leave it up.
A young receiver who has elevated, who has become the first drafted Ravens receiver to go to the Pro Bowl twice now. That's a guy who changed the culture. And I'm just saying, don't devalue Zay
I'm not devaluing anything.
That guy.
I am just saying it's a lot. Look, I would be saying the same thing if, for instance, Puka Nacua wasn't doing what he was doing. I'm not saying Zay Flowers is not a great player. I'm not saying that Zay Flowers is the offense. We know this. He is right now until they prove it. Otherwise, he's the offense. So, yes,
Exactly.
I'm just saying it's a lot of money. That's all I'm saying.
Was it an overpay? No, I don't think so. But then again, what's your other alternative, right? I
Yeah.
mean, you let him walk. That you just can't absolutely do that. Like just like Billy said, they're scarred from the Tyler Linderbaum thing, and they just can't allow that. This is a homegrown guy who has established himself as one of the best wide receivers in the league, back to back 1,000 yard seasons, back to back Pro Bowls as well. So. I mean, I think this is well deserved. This is a guy who obviously has great chemistry with Lamar Jackson, and I know we're going to get to them later on, but I think they found other guys as well in the pass catching department who could complement Zay and certainly complement Lamar Jackson as well. So yeah, and then just the time of it is perfect, right? You don't want to go up against a potentially monster Puka Nacua deal, which is most likely not going to happen this year, but still. They got it done. They needed to get it done. You didn't want to go into this year, with that kind of hanging over your head in terms of the Ravens front office, that hanging over your head and, wondering, oh, do we need to pay him like a little bit, possibly close to 200 million in total because of potentially the monster season he could have under Declan Doyle. And we all know if Lamar Jackson's healthy, we all know how that offense is going to be humming, right? So, better to get it done now. Well deserved. And, this is a guy who could go down as potentially the best Ravens wide receiver possibly of all time. Who knows? He certainly has a potential. He has certainly showed that he loves it in Baltimore. He, obviously, like I said, the chemistry with Lamar. And, I think this could be his best season yet.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
obviously, all of that can certainly happen. All of that can be true. Multiple things could be true at once. But yeah, again, it's a great deal for Zay Flowers. It's a great deal for the Ravens organization. Get it out of the way. Now, it leads to what happens with Lamar. Obviously, as we know, Lamar will never say anything about contracts ever because that's just how Lamar operates. The deals, or rather, the conversations about the deal have been ongoing. We know that he said it publicly, as did Eric DaCosta, but he's not saying when or where or what or how that is going to happen. He's got an over $80 million cap hit, so we know that a deal has to happen in 2027, early 2027 offseason, or this year. We don't know. But it does beg the question, can the Ravens and Eric DaCosta push Lamar for a deal in 2026 and get that out of the way as well? Or is Lamar Jackson going to just be patient and see what these other guys are going to get paid? Because there's a lot of guys that are due for contracts. I think Jaden Daniels is one of them. I want to say Drake May is another. There's multiple guys from that previous draft class that are going to get paid. That are going to get, Bo Nix, I believe, is another one that are going to get paid. And if they are out getting paid more than Lamar Jackson, it's probably not a good look for the Ravens organization. I'll just say that.
Yeah. I mean, Lamar's smart about
Yeah.
all of that. He's very intentional about his career and not the narratives per se. He doesn't really tend to care about those, but about his own value and knowing his value. And I think that he knows that every year, because last year wasn't the year that we know Lamar for, it wasn't, and that's not just his fault. There was many things going on around him. But like he probably wants another year under his belt to show like, hey, like this is actually who I am now, and I'm returning to this player that I once was and always have been, with the right support around me. And I think that, we're just gonna wait and he'll feel it out. He took everyone down to the literally like a few hours before the draft last time when he got his deal. So I think that he'll probably just continue to feel it out, see what feels best. If something comes by that feels, suitable for him and he'll definitely take it. I don't think he's like a greedy guy that's particularly like holding out for a specific figure, more just like for it to feel right and to know that these people are right. Because we also have a whole season ahead of him of like this offensive line, which we're going to talk about in a minute. Like we don't know if that's going to work for him. We don't know if that's going to be something that he feels protected behind. And he needs to show that, they're going to keep committing to his health and his career by putting those people around him. And I think that, he will. I think he wants to be a Raven, or at least he wants to be a Raven enough to get them a Super Bowl. And I think until that's done, I think he is going to commit himself to Baltimore. He's a loyal guy. The city means a lot to him and he means a lot to the city. So I think it will get done.
Yeah. I mean, Yeah, exactly. I don't think I don't think it's a situation where he's going to go anywhere. Lamar is staying in Baltimore, and Lamar is Baltimore, if you will.
He
Um,
is.
but
If you
I
go
mean,
to Baltimore, like he's on the walls, like
yeah.
murals everywhere, like the
Yeah.
city loves him.
Well,
So,
again, it just would be a fumble of epic proportions if
hmm
they allowed even him to go anywhere or even talk to anybody. But speaking of offensive line, we can just jump right into that. Yeah, the offensive line matters a great deal, and I think that's also something that we've talked about. But I think that's an important thing to mention alongside Lamar Jackson is he's got to see what this O line is going to look like, because if it does not protect him, then he has no choice but to consider other options. Because if you're not going to invest in the one thing that keeps him upright and being able to do his job, then that's a problem. And right now, there seems to be a lot of decent synergy on the offensive line. Roger Rosengarten and Ronnie Stanley are now like the leaders in the room, despite John Simpson returning and despite all the free agent acquisitions and all that. Um, yeah, I mean it's sounding good, but there's some issues. Tackle depth is not great. The Ravens then lost a depth piece because they tried out Hakeem Adeniji. I think that's how you say his last name. And then he just decided to retire. I don't know why. I don't think they released that information, but he got put on the reserve retired list following just like days after he was signed. And then the Ravens worked out like 5 offensive tackles, one of which they brought in. That's Kendall Lamb. Kendall Lamb in 2023 was fantastic for the Miami Dolphins. I think he's a really good player. He was speaking about retirement over these last couple of years. He went and played with the Eagles briefly, went back to the Dolphins, and now he's with the Ravens. I think it's a good depth piece. Obviously, they need just depth in general, because if an injury does happen, that line could be kind of screwed. Additionally, the center competition. This has been an ongoing topic for us for multiple months at this point. I'm very surprised, not in a negative way, maybe more in a positive way, that they're actually going to let this competition go all the way to down to the wire. Offensive lineman coach Dwayne Ledford indicated that they're not going to pick anybody and probably until the last week of training camp leading into the regular season. Again, it's a little concerning because they did bring in Ethan Posich, but it's also kind of maybe a benefit because they have all these guys that are competing now. You have Danny Pinter, Jovan Gwynn, and Ethan Posich, who are up for the job. But Corey Bullock was just removed from the non-football injury or list. He's with an illness. He's practicing today. I just saw that. So he could be in the mix as well. It's like a double-edged sword. Like, it's scary that they're not just deciding on Postage being the center and moving forward with that. But it's also good because whoever does earn this job is beating out Postage, and then you have a really quality backup and backups behind you with Pinter or Gwyn or whoever it may be.
yeah. Yeah. I read this quote from Dwayne Ledford and I was like, because I'll do it. I'll pull the positives. They're taking their time. They're not forcing anything. They want to see what works, what's going to click. Like, they're like, do we have to do it for 5 weeks? Do we have to do that for 5 weeks? Like, I don't think it's smart. I think it is raising concerns for me because, I hear the noise already. Week 1, Lamar gets sacked. It's his fault. He couldn't get free. He's not the guy that he used to be. Like, all eyes are going to be on Lamar. Like, they're not going to even blame this. Like it just, they skip over that. They don't even look at that. They're like, oh no, it's Lamar's fault. And I just feel like he really needs someone. He just needs that centerpiece locked down. You move everyone else around, figure that out. But like having that one guy that he can trust and build that chemistry and relationship with, because Tyler Linderbaum has been passing in the snaps every year for the last however many years. That is a chemistry that really, really matters. It really matters. So he needs to have someone that he's practicing with week on, week out, just to get that going. I don't like this taking time. Like, you've brought in all these guys and you still don't know who it is. That's concerning to me. If it's not good enough, make it good enough. Figure it out.
Well, and what you just said too, Tyler Linderbaum handing off the ball to him. Now Declan Doyle is going to have him hiking directly from center as opposed to pistol gun formation, which he did a lot of in 2025. Over 60% of his snaps were not hiking it directly from center. So now that you're doing that, you need to have a very good center because that is the first contact once the ball is out of your hands. The ball's in Lamar's hands. You better be ready to take on the brunt of the offensive line. Obviously, you have the guys to your left and right that aid that, but the center is the first contact and one of the most important pieces.
Yeah, it's just something I want to see that chemistry locked down before week 1 because it was such a huge miss. And I really understand that you just can't fill those shoes. It's just going to have to feel right. But like, I don't think it should be taking until the last week of training camp, which is what Dwayne Ledford has said. I think it needs to be locked up before then. But hey, if Lamar feels comfortable, he feels comfortable, then that's, ultimately what matters.
That's very true. It's good that they're kind of crossing their T's and dotting their I's, but at the same time, does it really need to take all this time, right? I mean, you have now essentially 4 guys who are going up for the spot. I think Corey Bullock's practicing right now. By maybe the end of the week or by next week, you should narrow it down to at least like 2 guys. At least you should have a general idea of who's going to be, handing Lamar Jackson the ball. This is a guy, center position, that's going to be touching the ball every single offensive snap. So clearly it's one of the most important positions in football, especially on offense. And I mean, you should have a general idea who it's going to be. I mean, I don't know if this is to keep like Ethan Pochich on his toes or anything like that. I mean, I don't know, but I mean, you should kind of have an idea of who it's going to be, but at the same time, maybe, hopefully Lamar's on board with this. Hopefully he knows, like kind of like the general idea of what's going on here. And I mean, I don't think they would be doing this without his say in a way. So, we'll just have to see how it all goes down. But I think it shouldn't take a month to find out who's going to be your starter. I mean, clearly, we all know the Tyler Linderbaum thing was detrimental to the Ravens. So now they had to reshuffle on the fly, but it shouldn't be taking this long.
Yeah, and they have their first preseason game next Saturday, I believe it is, August 15th against Philadelphia Eagles. Obviously, you're not going to see starters usually the first game, but you need to see something from this offensive line. And I mean, you got to figure that out quickly. This is something that we've talked about for months at this point, and for them to take their time, that's what I'm saying. It's a double-edged sword. That's too scary because it's like you got to have that guy there to anchor the 5 and then also work on that chemistry with Lamar. And for all intents and purposes, it should be Postage. 97 starts. Joe Flacco talked about how much of a freak he is about his preparation. He's been rated pretty decently on Pro Football Focus and in general. So I don't know. I mean, we'll see, I guess.
I'm just like, what is he doing there? What was all that for?
Right. I mean, I don't know. But I mean, the good news is the Ravens team is getting healthier, is nearly fully back. Like I just said earlier, Corey Bullock is back. He was one of the remaining players who was on the NFI list that wasn't practicing. The 2 remaining that are not practicing are linebacker Teddy Buchanan and then also Travis Jones. Travis Jones was a little bit of a surprise, but he has not been practicing. I don't quite know what his injury is. I would have to look that up. I don't really know it off the top of my head. I haven't really seen what it is. But Teddy Buchanan, as we know, tore his ACL late in 2025, but he's been working his way back.
It's a pec issue.
Oh, pec issue, which is not good for linemen at all, because if you tear your pec, you're out for a long time. So that being said, Teddy Buchanan, oddly enough, Jesse Minter said that he was further ahead than Matabuke. Matabuke's back. Teddy Buchanan is not. So with that, it's kind of weird messaging. I don't quite know what to make of it. I don't know if this means that Matabuke is going to be back, but Minter and everybody is saying Matabuke is also ramping himself back up. He's been doing individual drills. He has not gone to team drills just yet. And he's also wearing the old school neck brace. I don't know if you saw that, but I love when defenders have that. Reminds me of the Zach Thomas days from the Dolphins. But anyway, getting healthier. Everybody's mostly back. John Jenkins is back. Like we said, Matabuke is back. Calais Campbell finally returned. Obviously, he had that terrible personal family tragedy. He was away from the team, but he is also back. The Ravens posted a very funny video of him basically video bombing a workout, flexing in the camera, which was very funny. Typical Calais Campbell behavior. But, I mean, the good news is the Ravens are getting healthy. They should be
Yeah.
healthy come week 1, fully healthy-ish.
Yeah, we hope so. I think with Madubuike, it's more like he's really got to test out that body and figure out because it was such a serious. I mean, all injuries are serious, but I think, that's scary. Like that could lead to longer term issues. So I think it's for him just like feeling out whether like he physically can and is able to do this. It's been amazing seeing him back on that field. I bet it's such an energy boost for them all. I'm not too worried about Teddy. I want to see him back on the field ASAP. He was amazing at the beginning of last year. But he'll get back when he's ready. He's young. It's important that he takes time and the time that he needs to get healthy again so he can have a long, successful career. And there's guys around. I'm not worried about the defense, really. I feel strongly about the guys that are on the defense this year. I think that, with being led by a defensive mind, like I think that they're going to get the best out of them this year. So, and Calais is there, and Madubuike is getting help. Like I think it's just good news after good news after good news, and Teddy will get there eventually. But I am very, very antsy to see him back on the field again because he was just so good.
Yeah, for sure. I think obviously it's never a good sign when you're not practicing, but obviously when you have guys who are recovering from serious, significant injuries, you just got to take your time with them. That's really the case here. You have still a little bit over a month left until the start of the season. We knew they weren't going to play preseason anyway if they were healthy. Just take your time, ramp them up, and yeah, hopefully they're ready by week 1. We have an idea of the type of defense that Jesse Minter wants to play and the type of impact they could have, where they want to be placed and whatnot. So right now it's just all about making sure that their bodies are good, that they could withstand an 18-week long season, and they could do their job to ensure that Minter's defense, becomes one of the best, which it certainly has the potential to with playmakers pretty much all over that side of the ball.
Yeah. But again, getting healthy, like you just said, buddy, and like you said as well, Billy, like, everybody's getting healthy at, excuse me, at the right time. That's the thing too, is obviously, you want to get hopefully everybody at least a few snaps, maybe one series, the starters in your third preseason game, but they're not going to play much more than that, just as long as they're ready for the regular season. And exactly what Madubuike, it was a neck injury and neck surgery. Usually you don't see players with neck injuries come back like that quickly too. Those can be very, very detrimental to their overall health and then their football careers for sure. So yeah, I think they're taking extra time to make sure that he is ready to go. As multiple head coaches always say, they have to protect the players from themselves. You can't let them just go 0 to 100 coming back from any kind of injury, because then that's when you re-aggravate and then you lose that player for even more time, which they don't want, because having Madubuike on the field is only going to make everybody around him better and solidify this pass rush and the defense in a very, very significant way, as we know. But moving along to, maybe I'm wrong and maybe Billy's been right this entire time. Jacoby Lane, been killing it in training camp. He had a one-handed grab just yesterday. Today, just reported, he had another one-handed touchdown grab from Lamar Jackson. Great news. Maybe he's that wide receiver 3 that the Ravens have been searching for. Obviously, that's not to discount anybody else on the team, Devontae Walker, any of those guys, but Jacoby Lane is becoming a highlight reel. And again, this is training camp, so let's just take it with a grain of salt until those joint practices happen, until the preseason games happen. But for all intents and purposes, Jacoby Lane is balling out, as they say. He is doing really well. He's building that rapport with Lamar Jackson. Jesse Minter made it very known. He's like, look, he's doing what he needs to do to make sure that he's getting the eyes from Lamar Jackson. And really, that's what him and Elijah Surratt were doing in OTAs and minicamp. Surratt has been a lot quieter. Lane has not been quiet. He's been very loud. And, obviously personality-wise, he's loud, but then, like, his play is loud. So he's, again, take this with a grain of salt because it's still training camp, but he's killing it right now. And he's starting to emerge as a player that can play over the middle, that can play the deep ball, that can be that contested catch guy. You already brought that up. We talked about it. He's 6'4". He's 200 pounds. He's a little bit lighter, but he's also the kind of guy that can jump up and make a play on the ball. And that's huge, will be huge for the Ravens offense. And again, it's training camp, but he's killing it.
What did I say? I know a Raven when I see one. I know a Raven. They have an essence. They have the way they play. He's funny. He's energetic. Like, Zay is the same way. Like he's a guy who's like laughing in your face, like laughing at the fans and stuff. Like he's that guy. And I think that him and Lane together are gonna have a real great energy. And I think that, those one-handed catches were the thing that I was looking at least when he was coming onto the team, was because that's the kind of stuff that just happens, especially in AFC North football where it's fast and physical and everyone's kind of all up in each other's business. Like that's the kind of guy that you need. And I knew, yeah, it's training camp, whatever, but I'm telling you, that guy's a Raven. And I've been saying that guy's a Raven.
Yeah, I mean,
This is
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna say this is a guy who flew under the radar last year at USC because Makai Lemon was getting all the attention, all the praise, and rightfully so. But Lane, I mean, he's showing up and he's showing out, man. This is a guy who could have easily been one of the best receivers at any other school in the country. Now he's with the Ravens and he has Lamar Jackson as his quarterback, and I mean, we just, we're seeing it right in front of our eyes, the type of potential he has. You can't miss this guy down the field. He's 6'4". Yes, he's a lanky dude. He might need to possibly put on more weight, but I mean, I think this is a guy who perfectly complements Zay Flowers as well. I mean, he just has all the skill sets. He has clearly the build to be the type of wide receiver that they need. I know a couple weeks ago, Steve Smith, he kind of said that Lane could play like the Isaiah Likely role in a way in terms of his frame and being that end zone, that red zone type of threat, and he's clearly showing that right now. He's doing it all over the field, and I wouldn't be surprised if this is the type of guy who Lamar Jackson targets more often than not in the red zone. Because this guy could clearly make plays one-handed, whatever the case may be. This is a guy who has a ton of talent, and someone who could certainly be, just a great piece to the offense. And I think Declan Doyle is gonna have some real fun with this guy too.
Yeah. We had already known, we talked about this. Jesse Minter made it known that back in minicamp, he said one of the two receivers would get a very major opportunity. We know this already. And it just seems that Jacoby Lane is taking full advantage of that. Again, he's becoming a highlight reel. Again, take that as you will because it's training camp, but that's what you need to do to separate yourself. And, I'm not hearing or reading much about Rashad Bateman and all the other guys as much, Devontae Walker. Not saying that they're not doing well, but you just don't hear as much about them. And again, that's not saying that they're not going to be the starters week one, but Jacoby Lane is putting himself in a position where he's going to be getting those calls and he's probably going to make the most of that. And that's what you need. You need that. You need that clear-cut wide receiver 3, even wide receiver 2. Again, if Rashad Bateman kind of just doesn't emerge the way that the Ravens need him to, and he can't emerge in Declan Doyle's offense, you need those strong receivers. Maybe this could be a situation where Sirach jumps in as well. But the tight ends as well are starting to get looks as well. Josh Cuevas, Matthew Hibner, they're impressing as well in camp. So I think you have a really strong young core that's making the right kind of noise. And it's exciting for what could be for this Ravens offense, especially because now Lamar Jackson doesn't have to just go, well, Zay Flowers out there, I'm just going to huck it to him. Like there's other players that you can potentially target, and that's what they need.
Yeah, and I think more than anything, this speaks to the type of player that Jacoby Lane is that he has come in and gone in full force and been like, I want to show what I can do. And that is just going to reward you every time. If you're that guy who's like, I'm going to show up, I'm going to build that chemistry with Lamar. I want to be catching passes off him. I want to be doing all this. I want to be there. And I'm, he's getting involved in like the social media stuff and sometimes that's like out of their control or whatever. But like, that's the kind of guy who wants to be there and the kind of energy that's infectious. So I think like even just him showing up and being that way is enough for them to like take a little bit of a risk on him, or not even a risk, want to bring it into the frame more and more and plan for him. So I think he's doing all the right things.
Yeah. And when you're a rookie receiver, you have to do that. You have to separate yourself somehow. Not saying, well, like we said before, like everybody knows, if you're, sometimes it takes a year or two for you to truly settle into the NFL. But if you can make noise right away and show that you're worth those snaps, you'll get those snaps. And that goes for most players, especially for coaches that are, not going to treat the younger players as if they are younger players and they don't deserve the playing time. But again, if you're making that much noise, they have no choice but to put you in to see what you can do.
Yeah. Okay, couldn't agree more. Yeah, Lane certainly has opportunity to be a wide receiver three, and I think by season's end, that could, he could potentially be a wide receiver two if things go his way, and if he keeps on making noise like this, I don't see any reason why he can't be or he shouldn't be.
Yeah. We will be back next week with even more training camp news. Maybe a Lamar Jackson deal, maybe not. I don't know. We'll see. I was surprised by the Zay Flowers deal getting done right now. I thought it was going to be closer to the start of the regular season, not right now. But hey, it happened. Eric DeCosta making moves. I'm sure they're still trying to work something out with Lamar. Maybe they will, maybe they won't. But the Ravens are getting healthier. Things are looking up, and we will be back next week. Again, please do all the social media things, like, share, subscribe, comment, all that stuff. It's good for exposure. We will be back next week. Thank you guys so much for listening.